It's green for go. They're racing.
He says go.
He says ta-da.
And Tiger Tara roars away from them on the home turn.
Here comes another big boil over.
Equine athleticism at its best. The king is in the castle once more. This is in one race. The rest are almost in another postcode.
She is a star with a capital S.
It's going to be a triple treat, a miracle three-peat. Ladies and gentlemen, you have witnessed history here at Menangle. What about that?
It's getting right up on the sprint lane and it's going to bolt in.
Hello and welcome to the Sunday session, or Hay, as they would say in Sweden. This is a podcast for Harness Racing New South Wales. My name is Greg Hayes and it is great to have your company. Sweden does take centre stage with the running of the Elite Lop on Sunday night, Monday morning, and the New South Wales trained the Locomotive will contest the second elimination heat for trainer Brad Hewitt and owner Glenn Holland. Nothing better than seeing Aussie entrants in the world's biggest harness racing events. I'll be a bit self-indulgent to start the show. I've seen some great harness racing across the world. The Breeders' Crown is right up there in the US. So too is the New Zealand Cup, because it's the country's Melbourne Cup. But the Elite Lop in Sweden is something different altogether. They race Saturday and Sunday on a track that is packed to the rafters. When they open the gates, spectators sprint to get to their favourite vantage points. Just like the cricket, when you hear the crowd clap the bowler in, well, the crowd fast clap the horses up to the mobile gate, the roar from the crowd at the start, and then when they come down the straight with a lap to go, it's deafening. A deafening cheer as they turn for home. It's something I'd never witnessed at another harness racing venue in the world. There are a couple of races that are on my bucket list still. I'd love to go to France to watch some of their big races. I'd love to see a Little Brown Jug, but if you're in the position to go to one harness racing meeting in the world, the Elite Lop is the one I would suggest. Very hard with the timing of the race to do much on this year's race, tonight's heats. 2/3 of the weekly listeners who download this podcast after Sunday, so on a Monday or later in the week. So to do a preview would basically mean that's done and dusted for most of the listeners. I was listening to a preview of the day from Sweden, and they had 4 experts on a roundtable discussion, and they were talking about the Locomotive. It was interesting to hear one of the locals talk about the horse's gate speed and whether he would be able to show the great gate speed that he shows in Australia, because, and Brad mentioned this as well when he was on the podcast a couple of weeks ago, due to the rules over there, Brad can't use a burr on the pole. Now, the local commentator had been watching the work of the Locomotive at Solvala and was unsure that push-button speed will be there due to the force change to the horse's gear. He did go on to say he thought he would be better suited on a bigger track, and we've probably seen that here in Australia. He's performed so well at Menangle. In saying that, his fastest time was set in a heat of the Great Southern Star at Melton on a 5/8 track. So, good luck to Brad anyway. I did send Brad a message wishing him all the best of luck, and I sent him a link to the 2018 Elite Lop final when I was there. They talk about horses drawn out 6 and wider, finding it tough to cross, but the horse drawn 7, and that's what the Locomotive's drawn in the second elimination, in 2018 did cross the final and lead. Now, a top 4 effort in the elimination would be mind-blowing. He's following in the footsteps of Just Believe, Maori Time, Sundawn's Gift for the Aussie Trotters. It's all about showing the world the strength of the square gator in this part of the world, and I'm sure we will see some more Aussie flavour going forward. My thoughts are with the people who have been affected by the flooding across New South Wales over the past week. People have lost their lives and a number of properties have been damaged. I did a couple of stories back in 2016 when I was working for Harness Racing New South Wales full-time about the Hunter floods back in that year. We hired a boat and went out to Darren Elder's place. And I did a story with Clayton Harmey as well about his property. We were able to drive to Clayton's, but Darren's, we had to catch the boat out there. You'll still find those stories on YouTube. The one with Darren Elder, I'll never forget the spiders. They were everywhere, all over the fence posts, all over the walls of the house on the outside, trying to get out of the water. That story got some traction over in the US when it was released. It was a terrifying time for everyone, and unfortunately, those conditions have returned. Basically, 40% of the year is gone, and the premierships are starting to take shape in New South Wales, and I get the feeling we're going to see a very tight race to the finish in the state drivers. The state trainers looks all over with Jett Turnbull a long way in front of his rivals, but the state drivers is going to be hotly contested. Rob Morris sits atop the table, At this stage, 2 wins in front of Jett Turnbull, a further 5 back to Will Rickson, and another 5 back to Cam Hart. In fact, only 19 winners separate the top 7 drivers in the state. And with Jack Callaghan getting the bulk of the Jason Grimson drives at Menangle, you'd think he's going to make up some ground on the leaders. I think Jett Turnbull might be in the box seat to win it. He's going to get the support of his father's stable, and he is the leading stable in New South Wales. He gets to plenty of meetings in the country during the week, and I think he would be the favourite if there was a market open at this stage. I'd love to see Rob Morris win it. He's had an amazing run in the past 17 years or so. First appeared in the top 10 drivers in New South Wales in season 08-09 and hasn't finished outside the top 10 in a season since. He's had some injuries in his career as well, because I know when I was at Sky, we used to use him on the coverage when he was injured. So to have a record like that and not win a premiership is a bit unfair. Turning my attention to Menangle on Saturday night, I mentioned Jason Grimson earlier, won 3 of the first 4 races, and the race he didn't win, he had the favourite, was Super American. Major Hot stepped out for the first time for his new owner and got the job done in race 4. On the run, he got in transit. I thought he might have won by further, but you can't knock a winning performance, and if Grimson can improve Major Hot marginally, then his new owner is set to have some fun in coming months. Kingmaker for Luke McCarthy won the free-for-all, put the writing on the wall last week when he closed strongly behind Nyack. I think the run of the meeting was Max Delight after being trapped 3 deep, kept coming in the straight and still managed to place. The old boy looked to have his chance in front last week, but maybe he needed that run because he was so brave last night. They'll know he's there in Queensland during the Inter-Dominion series, that's for sure. So after that long intro, who's on the podcast? As I said earlier, the fact that this is a Sunday show makes it really hard to talk to anyone in Sweden because the interview is going to date straight after the race. So I'll be tuned in tonight. I've got my fingers crossed for Brad, and I'm going to go for 2 guests this week that I've mentioned already. And interestingly enough, they sit 1-2 on the New South Wales Drivers' Premiership. Spoke with Nathan Turnbull about the win of Glitter Aint Gold in the regional final last week on the podcast. Found out more about the horse. This week, I'm going to catch up with Jett. He drove his 300th winner when Glitter Aint Gold won the state final and has now won 2 $100,000 races in the space of 2 weeks. This kid is on an exponential career trajectory. He's only going to get better, and he isn't even 18 years old. In fact, I'll talk to him about his plans for his upcoming 18th. I think it's only a couple of months away. Also, Rob Morris. Always good to catch up with Rob. Drove 2 winners last night at Menangle. Good to see he's a treacherous back in form. Missed the New South Wales Derby after failing in the heats and then was off the pace at Bathurst during the Gold Chalice Series. Since then, he's put 3 wins together and looks set for a strong campaign. So I'll have a chat to Rob about that. And I want to talk to him about his premiership aspirations. Kerry has won the trainer's title 3 times, but Robbie's premiership cabinet is bare. So there's a bit to talk to Robbie about. Mr. T will be back with some tips. This is the last week of autumn, and he has a big lead. So it looks like he's set to take a 3-2 lead in our tipping contest. We tip for a season, so winter, summer, autumn, whatever season we're in. We're currently locked at 2-all, but I'd need to find a $6, $7, $8 winner to run him down. Plus, I'll have a full wrap of fantasy harness racing. Slight change this week with all of the wet weather and the cancelled meeting at Penrith being moved to Monday. So all of that's still to come. First up, though, it's Jett Turnbull.
28 for the quarter. On the swing for home and kicking away, Glitter Aint Gold. Horn Player has plenty of room to give chase. Tomahawk Bart's up on the inside. Dougie Sloy's coming down the outside. The leader is Glitter Aint Gold. Dougie Sloy is trying to wear it down with Horn Player, but Glitter Aint Gold is packing plenty of power, and it'll win the state final. Goes home to score. Big salute there from Jett.
Well, we spoke with his dad last week on the show after the winner of Glitter Aint Gold in the regional final out there in the Central West. But after winning the state final, I thought it would be timely to catch up with Jett Turnbull. It's been a few months since we've spoken with Jett, and he has had an amazing start to his career. 300 winners now, and, well, the only direction is up, and he's joined me to have a chat. Hey, Jett, how are you?
Good, Greg. Thanks for having me on.
No problems at all, mate. Huge win for you last night with Glitter Aint Gold, another $100,000 final. Again, a big race for your dad. You must be on top of the world.
Yeah, we all are out here. He's a wonderful little horse, and I'm just glad we can all do it together.
Mate, what's the story with him? He obviously started his career in another stable and was purchased and turned up at the Jett Turnbull stable. Have you guys always thought he had ability when he arrived?
Yeah, we had an owner look at him and bought him, obviously, and sent him here. And we first got him, and he showed a little bit of potential, but just had a couple screws loose. And we worked on him for a bit, and he just kept taking the next step after he had a break or something. And we took him to the races, and he always showed he had something there. And ever since he's had a bigger let-up, he come back a whole different horse, stronger and faster. And no, this time in, he's just a really good horse.
Your dad was saying you do a lot of the work with him at home. So can you see that? Is it a physical maturing, or is it mental mainly? Can you see it in the horse himself that he's grown bigger and stronger?
Yeah, definitely. You can see the way he's building muscle, and you can just, even sitting behind him, you can feel him, how much mature he is. He used to sort of want to play around a little bit in the cars, and now it's just like he just knows what he's doing now. He just all does it himself.
So he's had those few runs back from a spell, and he's been, well, he hasn't been troubled at all. Last night was as close as they've got to you, and it looked like it was a pretty easy coast down the straight, was it?
Yeah, it was definitely his hardest test, but no, the whole way up the straight, he was sort of just doing his own thing. And then even after the long and the horses come back up next to him, he sort of tried to go a bit again. So that gave me a bit more excitement.
Your dad was talking about Queensland, and if an invite came to a race like the Rising Sun, would be keen. Is that the plan still?
Yeah, it's definitely on the radar, I'd say, but I'd say Dad's not going to go looking for it because he knows how good all them horses are up there. But I think if the invite comes, it's definitely something he's not going to say no to.
Yeah, it looks the obvious step for him. He just keeps on improving. His record suggests that. Mate, in terms of your career, you're not yet 18, but the 18th birthday isn't too far away.
Nah, not long now. I think only about 2 months away.
So, big celebration for your 18th. Where will you be? Have you worked out where you'll be on when it's your 18th birthday?
Yeah, I won't be at home. I'll be up in Queensland. I got invited to a Young Drivers Championship the week leading up to the Inter-Dominion final. So I'll be turning 18 the day before the Inter-Dominion.
So it's going to be a big celebration north of the border. I'm assuming Mum and Dad will want to join you for when you turn 18, so they'll come up?
Yeah, I think they're going to head up.
Mate, that's going to be very exciting for you. Mate, away from the racetrack, what do you do? Like, what's a normal day for you? Are you just always watching races? Do you just live and breathe harness racing? Is there something, do you have an interest outside of the sport? Are you into other sports away from harness racing?
Nah, none, Greg. I might sit down and watch the NRL on the nights I don't have races, but that's about it. We nearly race every day of the week here, and if we're not racing, we're still working. So all I ever wanted to do was this, and it's all just, I'm living in it now, so I couldn't be happier. And
so do you sit down and do some form? Do you watch a lot of races, even, if you're in at home and you finish your work for the day, will you sit down and watch the harness races on Sky? Is that normal for you? Yeah, we always got the TV on Sky, and I'll sit there and watch the races, and if I don't, I'll get it up on my phone and watch a lot of the races go around, and even just look at the fields for when I'm next racing and just go through them. Okay, so you are doing plenty of research and work. Another thing I wanted to talk to you about was your good mate Jai Coney, and I spoke with your dad about it last week. Obviously, it's only natural you guys are the same age. You're both coming through. There would be a little bit of rivalry there, but your dad was saying you're just the best mates. You wouldn't know if there was any competitiveness there. You're always spending time with one another and get on so well. Yeah, definitely. He's been my best mate now for a while, and it's good to see him come out here and take the next step in his career, which Dad always said he knew he had it in him. Dad was just glad to give him the opportunities, and yeah, as you can see, Jai took the next step, and me and him are fighting out the concession drivers premiership, and there's definitely a lot of rivalry going on, but it never takes a toll on our friendship. What about like if you and Jai want to drive from Dad? Like, is there a bit of push and shove, or do you guys know which horses you drive?
Yeah, no, it's pretty good that way. We've got that many horses here. We all sort of have our own ones. Not much fighting goes on about drives at all, really. We all just have our own horses, and it's pretty good that way.
How's your claim working out? How does with the claim system? How's that? Have you lost it?
Yeah, I lost mine nearly 3 months ago now. So I'm just a normal driver now, and Jai's got his free claim drive. He's got his 3 claims still, so Dad still uses that to his advantage.
Okay, and just having a look at the premiership, and you mentioned the concession drivers, but also you're up there in the state drivers. Have you been keeping your eye on that?
Yeah, definitely. It's harder to keep an eye on them because you do have the names of Cameron Hart and Robbie Morris surrounding you, but seeing my name on top of the concession drivers premiership again, I just hope I can hold on to that again and go back to back. But then, as you said, when you look at the drivers premiership, when I'm coming second against some big names, you nearly don't believe it at this age.
So if, let's fast forward the clock 6 months and all of a sudden we get to November, December, and you're very close to winning the state premiership. You obviously travel to a lot of meetings now. Is there any chance that you could go to even more race meetings to try and pick up some more wins to try and win that first premiership? Is that an option, or are you basically flat strapped getting around to as many meetings as you get to now?
Oh, definitely. I'd travel anywhere for a drive anywhere around New South Wales. I'm definitely not going to knock back any drives. But as you said, we are flat biscuit here with all the horses we have in, and me and Dad travel everywhere. But there's still them race meetings that I don't go to on my days off that if I ended up picking a drive up there, I'm not going to say no to it.
Okay, all right. Well, mate, it's great to catch up with you. You've done a fantastic job again last night winning that big race, and no doubt there's going to be plenty more success for you in your career. Good luck going forward, mate.
No, thanks, Greg. I appreciate it.
And first into the straight is Jungle Dragon in 28.4. Down the outside, He's a Treacherous cuts loose with its run. Coastal Drive tries to stay on over Aussie Corker. A narrow leader, Jungle Dragon. He's a Treacherous has just about got it. They were followed further back then by Coastal Drive and late as Pete's Crunch Time. But going to the lead in the shadows, He's a Treacherous grabbed the lead, and He's a Treacherous has won it.
Well, interesting that I went through the state premiership today and noticed that Robbie Morris is sitting on top of the premiership, and a couple of winners last night at Menangle is going to help things as well, and he's joining me to have a chat. Hey, Robbie, how are you?
Hey, Hazy, thanks for having me, mate. How you going?
Very well, very well. Good night at the office for you last night.
Yeah, really good night at the office. It's always a good time of year to have them up and racing well, and the whole team's doing a great job, and it was good to see, He's a Treacherous step out and do his thing on a 3-year-old race. He's obviously heading towards Brisbane for the carnival, so it was really good.
And the first winner for you for the night Has the Courage for Reg Walsh, and the horse has been around the stable for a long, long time. He's done a fantastic job. He's earned big bucks as well. You must be proud of him because he's a great advertisement for the sport. A horse that's still 10-year-old can be competitive on a Saturday night at Menangle.
Yeah, he loves his routine here throughout the week. Gary works pretty hard on just keeping him happy, and Reg has been a great owner and a great man to the sport for a lot of years now. So it's good to see him having one competitive on a Saturday night. And Old Courage, he needs to get his trip, and last night he got his trip, and he took full advantage of it.
What were you thinking at the top of the straight? Did you think you were on the winner?
Yeah, he always sort of flattens out a little bit that last 50 around that bend, and I knew if I could get him around that on the bit and still on Jack's helmet, he'd release off his helmet pretty strong, which he does. And he did. He had to hold off a few late that had probably shots at him. He probably ran to the front a little bit too early for Old Courage these days, but he held him out pretty good.
You mentioned He's a Treacherous, very talented 3-year-old, took on 3-year-old company last night at headquarters and proved too strong. He had the sticky draw, but was still too good for them.
Yeah, he did. It was an awkward draw to see how it would shake out on paper. I looked at the race a couple of times and could have come up with a few 4 or 5 different ways, but as the gate released, we sort of as I thought, Bernie was pretty keen to hold on Jungle Dragon, so I elected to sort of stay away from him. I would have been happy to sit outside the leader, but then Michael Stanley's horse wanted to come, and probably took a little bit longer than what I would have liked for it to get there, but it was probably really good to see. He's a treacherous come off speed like that. Just goes to show he's got another string to his bow.
Of course, went through the New South Wales heats of the Derby, then went to Bathurst, and nothing went right up there. But you gave him, well, Kerry's given him the month off, and since then, bang, 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 3 wins in a row.
Yeah, it was disappointing the way he started the year. It just didn't shake out like any of us would have wanted. Pulled a couple of bloods after Bathurst. He just had a few little things underlying there, a few fires that Keza had to sort of put out, and since he's got on top of that, he's back to he's a treacherous that we all know.
So what are the plans with him? Does he earn himself a trip to Queensland?
Yeah, definitely. I think Keza had a look last night at the meeting calendar. She was telling me, and I think there's a 3-year-old race in a fortnight's time, same sort of race as last night. Last night was up to 2 wins this season, and probably worked out in his favour. The next one's up to 3 wins this season, so he fits straight in under that banner. And that'll probably be his last start in New South Wales before heading to Redcliffe for the Redcliffe Derby, and then we've got options throughout the rest of the series up there, up in Brisbane, so it'll be good to get him up there.
Number of his wins he's led, but he's shown that he's not that one-dimensional. Where do you think he's best? Is he best in front?
I actually think he's best chasing. When he's out in front, he's a beautiful-looking horse, but he can be a bit gawky, and he can get he's obviously still a colt, so he can get a bit of a wandering mind. But I actually believe he's better stalking like he was last night. I think he sat 1-1 in the Breeders' Challenge and ran 3rd and 50, and he did all the work early and then got a hole and then come again late. He showed last night what he can do. And it's hard to do what he did last night. I always feel Bernie's horse was often gone on the bend, and his cover sort of didn't get him right around the bend. He had to pull pretty early, and he knuckled down. So yeah, I actually believe he's better with a sit, and I think he'll be better when he races them genuine good 3-year-olds in a derby and the speed's on. I think he'll love it.
What about in the free-for-all? You drove old Kanina Provlima and was looking for room in the straight, hit the line strongly.
Yeah, it was an action-packed free-for-all. Obviously, Paul Max got out there for a torrid trip, and I sort of probably couldn't get onto his back around the bend because I just felt that he'd done a bit too much. But to Max's credit, I've never seen a horse go so big. I probably just got a bit jammed up on a few helmets halfway down the lane, but when he got out, he really knuckled down. It was probably a great run. You know, his last couple of runs have been super, and he seems to be getting ready, and hopefully for another Into Dominion campaign.
So he does go. So he's obviously on the float up to Queensland.
I dare say so. Yeah, I think it's logical that he probably goes. He's always, like I said, the harder they race, I think the better he races. So be looking forward to getting him on the float and getting up there.
Mate, always like to catch up and find out how Archie's going in the mini trots. And you would have over the Easter break been. Did you go up to Tamworth?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
How was that?
Yeah, outstanding. Yeah, it was good to get up there with the whole family. Went up. We rented a couple of caravans and took a team of horses up there on the Thursday and spent sort of 4 or 5 days up there with the kids. And Stella's 4, but she's not quite driving the mini trotters yet. But she had a great time. And Archie drove a few other ponies for some other kids, and they were doing a lot of swapping and changes. It's good to see all the kids get there and have a stack of fun. You know, all the people that organise that thing, they deserve a hell of a lot of credit. I know Steph Morris, who looks after our Mini Trots Association there with the kids, they're non-stop organising things for them kids. They're really the unsung heroes that put a lot of things together for these kids to have a great time.
What can you see Archie doing as he gets older? Do you think he's going to follow you in?
I'm pretty sure he is. Yeah, he if he could leave school today, I think he would. So he's arguing with his mum every day whether he has to go to school or not. But yeah, look, he's a great kid. He lives it and he breathes it, and he knows everything. He knows what's going on. He's 9 going on 29, but yeah, he loves it.
Does he like to talk tactics with you before a race?
I think he just would, he, like all the kids now, and obviously they followed Toddy and they watch the American racing. Every time I see him, he's wanting to lean out the back and cut one loose. So I think I'm going to have him real fit.
Mate, just having a look, I mentioned at the top of the interview, the premiership chase, and look, premierships to some people don't mean much. I know Kerry's won 3 training premierships, but you've been oh so close so many times. Second to Lauren Tritton in 2014, 2015, second to Toddy McCarthy in 15 and 16, and second to Luke in 1920. So 3 second placings. You find yourself at the top of the premiership after 5 months. Have you dared to dream?
Oh, look, mate, not really. It's one of them things I get asked a lot. I sort of just try and stay consistent, and I'm very fortunate that the stable I've got behind me, and plus a lot of other stables of good trainers that put me on. So, look, if it happens, it happens, but I'm not losing any sleep over it either. It's one of them things that I don't think you can worry about them, especially this early in the year. I think they can do more damage there than what they can do good sometimes worrying about it. So, if it happens, mate. But, yeah, look, it's one of them things. You can't eat a premiership.
It'd be the only thing missing, though. You've won on 9, 10 Group 1s and, $20 million in stakes as a driver. So, there's not too many things that Robbie Morris hasn't done in the sport. It'd be a nice little feather in your cap for someone who's been around the sport for so long.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I'm not saying I don't want to win one, that's for sure. But I think you need such a good year to get it done. You need quality horses, and you need a good core. I think when you look at a premiership, you need a good core group of 10 or 20 horses that go through and win 10, 15 races each for that year. And you need a lot of things to go right too. Suspensions need to fall your way, and carnival time comes up, and you're here, there and everywhere. And we're very lucky, and obviously Kerry's stable. Kerry does a little bit of driving, and then you've got a driver like Josh Gallagher that he used to be the number 2 driver in the stable. If you ask him, sometimes he might be the number 1. But when you've got a bloke of his calibre getting a few drives here and there, we sort of share it around so everyone kicks a bit of a goal. So, I'm just happy that Kerry's team's going good, and, I just get a lot of support. So I'm just grateful for that.
Interesting runner at the trials last week for the stable, top of the moment. Former Queensland trotter that's found itself in New South Wales. What can you tell us?
He's always had a hell of a lot of ability. Chantel and Pete have done a great job with him up in Brisbane, but he just probably doesn't handle that last bend the greatest. He's got a good turn of foot, and I think our straights will help him a hell of a lot in our big open turns and Menangle. So it'll be interesting to see how he shapes up. He might have another trial this week, and then we'll probably look to find a race for him sometime in the next 2 or 3 weeks. But he's always had a lot of ability, and just hope he can bring his menace.
Is it hard? Will it be hard to place him because of the grade that he comes down on?
Not really. I think our free-for-all trotting ranks in Sydney at the moment are actually quite open. I don't think we've got a standout trot. Obviously, the Locomotive was, but he's out chasing dreams, which we wish Brad and Connections all the best with tonight. That's a great thing to be involved in. But I think, the trotters ranks in Sydney right now are probably as open as they have been for quite some time. So I think he'll fit in okay.
All right. Well, mate, great to catch up with you. Good to see you drive a couple of winners on a Saturday night, and good luck going forward.
Appreciate it, Hazy. All the best, champ.
Winner, winner, chicken dinner.
Winning. Hey, that's pretty good.
Winner!
That was legitness.
To that I say, all right. Wow, winning.
Bam! Just like that. That's all there is to it, Dustin. That's all there is to it. A winner! Just like that.
Well, Mr. T missed last week with his 2, and I got 1 out of 2 with Montefiore winning. So the updated leaderboard sees Mr. T negative $660, and I'm negative $67. So I just got to find a $6 or $7 winner, and I might steal the season. So Mr. T, his 2 tips, both Bathurst, both Wednesday, race 5, number 9, Windy Hill Tara for Steve Turnbull. Now, there's no driver down. They do need a 5-point claimer. Stepped back into Bathurst Company last start and was too good with Jai Coney on. Draws the inside of the second row. Does look hard to beat. Interesting driver will be put down on that one. That's race 5, number 1, Windy Hill Tara. And then go to race 7, number 9, Might and Victory for Mick Leary and Will Rickson. Again, inside of the back row. Only had the 3 starts. Was beaten at Menangle, was beaten at Goulburn, but squeezed in between those 2 runs. It was successful at Newcastle. Did lead up on that occasion. Mr. T not too worried by that second row draw. So that is race 7, number 9, Might and Victory. I'm going to Menangle on Tuesday. Race 4, number 8, Will I Am. Robbie Morris will do the driving again. Driven aggressively off a similar draw last week. Found the top. Didn't give them a look in. Repeat scenario here, although I don't think we'll get the $8 this week. So that is race 4, number 8, Will I Am. And go to race 6, number 4, Cash and Bling. Darren Binskin, Luke McCarthy combined. Ran a cracking second at its most recent start. Came from well back and made ground. Now, that was an up to 70 race. And this is a 60 or up to 60 raider. So looks really well placed. And hopefully we get some odds with Grimo's stable being represented in the event. So race 6, number 4, Cash and Bling for me. 2 meetings left in our fantasy harness racing to wrap up round 17. There's Launceston today and then Penrith tomorrow. Of course, that meeting rescheduled after the rain on Thursday. As I record this Sunday morning, Manning 90 has a 122-point lead over Boilover, and Boilover is 122 points in front of Larry and Harry. So, nice lead being set up by Manning 90. Still a few in play for round 17. Looking at the week-to-week, Manning 90 leads on 752 with Tommy Hudd on 751 and Mays and Royal Lad both on 741. Obviously, still plenty of races to go across the Launceston and Penrith meetings. That just about wraps up the podcast. Good luck to Brad Hewitt. I hope he lights the locomotive up at the start. It would be monumental to qualify for the final, but to even be there is an achievement in itself. Thank you to Jett and Robbie for both joining me today. That wraps it up. I'll catch you again next week. Bye for now.